So how the hell do we catch AI-generated plagiarism? I'm an English professor, and this is how to get away with plagiarism. I mean, how to get caught, how to catch those dirty plagiarizing cheaters. What's going on with your brain? Are you not braining enough? Am I afraid of getting fired if I admit? Where's your hanging indent, you little bitch? Plagiarize this video. Steal this video. There's your thumbnail. Whether you're a teacher or not, right? We all spend a lot of time as a student. We all have our little pet theories. Oh, if I was a teacher, I wouldn't do that dumb. That's a dumb thing a lot of teachers do. The first time I ever observed a student teacher, their idea was, let's take the koosh ball. So whoever's talking, you know, oh, I gotta have the koosh ball. And the reason this is good is that it's activating other parts of the brain, right? Oh, you gotta throw a ball, you gotta catch a ball. That's keeping the brain on its toes. You know, your brain toes. And about 2 minutes in, koosh ball thrown, goes right down this girl's cleavage and is lost in her shirt. Okay. What are you writing? Hit student in breast with foreign object. The funniest kind of plagiarism is when students take something and then they try to hide it, just whip out the thesaurus and throw the thesaurus at it. Nowadays, they have AIs that will do it. You know AI, counterfeit consciousness? It's an AI. Hey, you guys remember Martin Christian Emperor Jr.'s I have a hallucination speech? Victoria's Secret Angels, well, obviously that's the same thing as Victoria's Confidential Heavenly Messengers. Same thing. There's the landmark 1973 ruling Roe v. Swim. You know, sometimes students will do some research. They'll find a study, and in this study, the cruel height of individuals was 5'6". It's a very cruel height. You ever seen that movie, Cruel Girls? One of the original studies that launched this, like, ivermectin will cure COVID. Instead of saying SARS for severe acute respiratory syndrome, it said extreme intense respiratory syndrome, which does not spell SARS. So if you wondered why a bunch of people started taking dog heartworm pills thinking it would cure COVID, some asshole with an AI wrote a paper. And that's why. Good paper. It's kind of a uphill battle fighting plagiarism and AI and all this shit. Makes you sometimes feel like Where Quixote. You guys ever read that novel, A Send-Off of Firearms? Sometimes students do a lot of research, you know, and they come back and they say, according to the Fence Road Diary, or according to the Big Apple Era. Very prestigious publications. Here's another example of an essay that was turned into my class. This is an essay about paying student athletes, you know, like scholarships for basketball players and shit like that. And it's citing sources with the word scholarship in there, but it's like scholarship meaning scholarly work. I did some scholarship, not money. Whoever made these citations didn't know that. One of the big things I'm responsible for teaching is evaluating sources. What is a good source? What's a popular source versus a scholarly source? We start in August, right? This is in November. This student has not spelled my name wrong. They have gotten my last name wrong. Like, we're fully 3 letters off, so that's a good impression. College junior, grade 15. Let's go to this works cited page, all right? First off, it's fucked, obviously, at a glance. This is not what you're supposed to do. Where's your fucking hanging indent, you little bitch? Now, they have something on here called ReadWorks. What is ReadWorks? Does this look like a scholarly source to you? What the fuck are we doing? ReadWorks produces sample texts for reading comprehension. Like, oh, you need to give your 4th graders something to read so they can do a quiz to see if they like understood what they read. That's what ReadWorks is for. So this student, for a college junior level class, has used as a scholarly source a 4th grade reading level reading comprehension quiz. And I pointed this out to him. Why did you do this? And he said, well, the source said what I wanted it to say. Okay, it's a bold move, Cotton.
And don't worry, I didn't try to sound smart at all.
My favorite thing about COVID, I have a lot of favorites, but my maybe top favorite thing about COVID, when I was just teaching in person and this would happen in November and you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, have you not listened to anything I said? What's going on with your brain? Are you not braining enough? When we're online and I could just go to the data and be like, oh, this student's what, 8 minutes of lecture. So it's not my fault. I'm totally absolved. This is great, I love it. COVID's great. So does the fact that a college junior looked at a 4th grade reading level quiz and thought that that was a good scholarly source mean that he failed a 4th grade reading level quiz? Could my voice get higher? Here's some real science right here, a real good source. Marijuana use does not lower the chances of getting pregnant. Study in the Journal of Getting Lit with D's Hoes. Is it just me, or does this sound like some assistant professor with amazing BSing skills just got a government grant to pay him to smoke weed and bang grad students? I mean, this is why you pay attention in college writing classes, people, because the difference between Professor fired for really gross incompetence, and professor given award by fertility organization. It's just those BSing skills. So let's look at a study. Here's some real science that came out. Men are more willing to have condomless sex with attractive women. My question, which I think deserves follow-up study, is when were signups? Did I miss an email? Was I cockblocked by a spam filter? What I learned from this study is I have to read all those goddamn emails, like penis pills, hot singles in your area, penis pills, do you like banging hot chicks without condoms, penis. Wait, go back one. Cockblocked by a fucking spam filter. It's like Westworld, but you know, not as abominable. Here's my takeaway from the study. Ladies have a new thing to be anxious about. You meet a new guy, things are going well, you're getting naked, things are, oh, okay. And he is like, just pops on a condom. None of that like, oh, I don't want anything between us, baby, or I got a latex allergy. He just puts it on. That's not because he's nice or responsible. You know what that means? You lack facial symmetry. We have the data. This is science now. I read the study because I only have a master's. I'm working on my PhD, and it's in the field of the psychology of raw dogging hotties. So I keep up with what's going on in the journal, wrapping it up with Uggos Quarterly. Another finding in this study is that the more attractive the lady, the men are more likely to think she has an STD, but they're also more likely to go uncooked canine. Anyway, you might be thinking right about now, this guy, I want him to teach my very young children. Well, you're in luck, because I've been writing kids' books. Noam Chomsky just died, so I feel like maybe my Noam Chomsky kids' book, it's called Manufacturing Consent of Minors. Maybe that could be a good one for your grandchild. I wrote an existentialist kids' book. It's called Why is Waldo? Speaking of spam filters cock-blocking you, I got a really weird email recently. The subject line was, what's the point of it all if you feel empty inside? Like, what the fuck is this? This is spam for suicide. You know the thing about advertising, they say create an anxiety, create an insecurity, and then you slip your product right in there to fill the insecurity. Well, you're feeling empty inside. What are we gonna fill in there? What is this product? It was an ad from a sex toy company, right? Pretty interesting marketing tactic. They must be marketing some new giant dildo to put in there. Like, what's the what are we selling? All of our sex toys are 15% off on this Columbus Day weekend. So they're bringing genocide into it. All right, here's a paper that was turned into my class. It's got size 17 font, which I deducted from my years of experience by looking where it says there, font size 17. This student doesn't know what class he's in. He thinks this is Anchor 300. We're at Discourse 300. Let's fix some of oh, what is this temporal phrase? Let's fix this. What the fuck is that? Okay, so instead of double spacing the right way, which involves 4 clicks, this student has gotten to the end of the line like they're using a fucking typewriter. Hit enter at the end of every line. All right, you just hit enter at the end of every line. That'll be way easier, right? Oh, okay. So instead of 4 clicks, they've gone with 70 keystrokes. That's a good idea. That was way easier. Now, if you try to fix anything, it throws off all the lines. So you add a little something. Oh, well, I gotta gotta back this up. This is so unfortunate. How did this student get to this level? This is a grade 15 paper. This is a college junior turned this into me. How did they not learn how to double space a paper yet? We were in the library one day for librarians to teach them shit. So they're at like computers and I saw what he was doing. That's not how to double space. Let me show you how to double space. Okay, and he argued with me, said no, his way is easier. So the answer to how the fuck did a student get to this high in college without knowing how to double space, the answer is they know better. Oh, okay. This is what it's like being a teacher, where you try to teach, show, demonstrate, improve the lives of, and their response is to argue, dismiss, squabble, sass, and pettifog you. That's right, pettifog. By the way, the library near my house started serving food. Like, they're selling food and they're making a lot of money. And I was like, there's restaurants going out of business. The library is making a bunch of money and selling food? What the hell's going on? So I looked into it, and it turns out they're cooking the books. My wife's a librarian, by the way, and the other day she said to me, whisper sweet nothings in my ear. So I said, stevia, aspartame, xylitol. Other kinds of plagiarism, there's something called mosaic plagiarism or patch writing or improper paraphrasing. You find a source that's saying what you want to say, right? You paste it in. and then you just kind of finagle it, slide it into your own words, you caress it until it's pretty original and it's not going to show up in a Google search. Okay. But you don't have any citations in there. And so this is like obvious at a glance where it's like, well, you know, women who have abortions have to get hooked on drugs. And you're like, you kind of need a citation for that. Like, what? That's plagiarism anyway. You got a paragraph that says a bunch of shit and there's no citations. That means those are your original ideas. And where it's most egregious, where it's like, well, in 46% of the time, women with Brazilian butt lifts are not satisfied with the level of lifting of the Brazilian. And you're like, where the fuck do you get this 46%? If there's no citation, that means that you personally have conducted the survey. A number, a fact, a stat, no citation, you're claiming you're the one originating this fact. Here's another red flag for plagiarism. A student turns in their essay, but it's not like a doc, it's not a PDF. What is it? It's a video, like a screen recording of them like scrolling through their essay on their phone. What the fuck is this? Well, I'm pretty sure that's just so they don't have to turn it in. And it doesn't go through the automatic plagiarism checker. Like, oh yeah, you can just read it on there. You just hit pause. No. So one time I was grading an essay and I discovered between paragraphs in white font, invisible unless you highlight it, the student wrote, here are some more words to fill my word count up quickly. I want to make words that are small to make many words to fill my word count up with many words. Now, this student was 300 words short of the goal, and this was 60 more words. That really helped a lot. Here's a few more pitfalls for you cheaters. I mean, teachers, here are things to look out for. Paper formatting. So these websites that sell essays will often have like a style guide and says like, you got to put all this information. It's like anything that might be required, word count, page count, teacher's name, assignment title, all this kind of shit. And so if you get turned into a paper that has like way too much fucking information at the top and stuff that you're not requiring, that's because all that extra information is from the template that website uses. And you know who was too lazy to change that template?
I think that because the upper left-hand corner of each page says dickensscholar.com.
If you're asking for a rough draft and then a final draft, they like skip the rough draft or they just don't make any changes. They turn in a rough draft and they make like no changes. It's maybe because they were paying someone to do the paper and they didn't want to pay extra, because these websites will do this. So it'll be like, oh, for extra, we'll give you a rough draft and then a final draft. We'll do this, these are bonus features. This is some DLC. So if they didn't pay for that extra stuff, then they won't be able to do the revision. And they're too lazy. They could just reverse engineer a rough draft. They're too lazy for that.
But for future reference, you might want to copy the content of the paper into a Word document rather than printing it straight off the Hotmail webpage. That makes it pretty clear that it was an email.
You are good, dude.
So, AI-generated essays. What do we do about them? There's so many AIs out there. Many of them are free. And you don't even need to go offering them sexual favors for them to write your essay for you yet. But we've got AI detectors. But here's the thing, AI detectors, they're not super reliable. They're also really opaque. They're like magnets. How the fuck do they work? It's not like Turnitin, where you're like, oh, okay, I can click a thing and see what it thinks is plagiarized. It's not like that. And these AI detectors, not super reliable. And you can feed the Declaration of Independence into one of these detectors, and it's like, yep, Declaration of Independence, AI generated. You're like, that's obviously dumb. Unless Thomas Jefferson was a robot. It does sound like a matey-uppy name. Tom Jeff. My name's Tom Jeff. My hobbies include writing my own Bible, writing declarations of things. I died on the 4th of July. Like, what is this guy? And Tom Jeff, he was like the youngest guy there. And they all made him write the paper the night before, and then they just all signed it. What kind of fucking like group project is this? Right? This is a very classic group project. Somebody make a sketch comedy thing. It's the Declaration of Independence, but it's really just like a shitty group project where most people aren't doing anything. John Hancock comes in, writes his name real big like he did it. Okay. I'm so sleepy. I'm so very sleepy. It is 1:30 in the morning right now, so this guy's kind of sleepy. Hello. So plagiarism, that big ass P word, how serious is it?
Hey bro, you remember Mr. Butthole's class?
So I was hired at this one university into this program for non-traditional students, adult students, because 18-year-olds aren't adults, right? And it's like this university really catered to like, you're an adult, you have a job, you have kids, you get your degree on like nights and weekends. They post satellite campuses at like all these military bases. They're trying to get all the veterans to come in there. and they have a lot of foreign students. And so right away, my first class, about 2/3 of it were foreign students. A third of it was like dudes fresh back from Afghanistan. This is a fun way to try to have class discussion, right? And right away, my new boss in this program trying to warn me, it seemed like a warning of like, oh, you know, some of these like Arab students, plagiarism's different for them. I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, oh, you know, it's just a different culture. They have different ideas. I was like, oh, okay. So I took that to mean she's warning me in advance, like, oh, you have to really teach what plagiarism is and how to use sources and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, right away I was like, oh, like these foreign students, they're cheating. They're all buying essays. They're copy and pasting shit, like obvious plagiarism. All right, where's the form? I need to report plagiarism. She's like, what do you don't need to do that. Oh, no, I'm just, I was like, oh, so when we had my like first meeting when I got hired, when she was warning me about plagiarism, she wasn't warning me. She was like telling me to don't care about it. She was saying like, oh, you're gonna have a lot of plagiarism. You don't need to like report that, you know. It's like the university wants their money because foreign students, their governments, some of these foreign governments will pay like not out-of-state tuition, out-of-country tuition. This is expensive tuition, and they want that money and they don't give a shit if they're plagiarizing. So it was my job to like pretend to teach them English, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna go email the English department head and be like, how do I report this? And she was trying to like sweep it on the rug. She did not want me reporting it. I did not teach there very long. I've taught at a different university where it is taken more seriously. So how the hell do we catch AI-generated plagiarism? When you have a student where every email is like broken English and then they turn in a paper that sounds like Stephen Fry wrote it, pretty obvious. Often it's not that noticeable, but it's still like, all right, this is suspicious. I look closer, but I can't find a smoking gun. I've just got my warm gun, you know, bang, bang, shoot, shoot. Not penis, it's a warm gun, if you know that. You get away with it, basically, because I'm not gonna raise major hell if I don't have the smoking gun. Ultimately, I would rather let some plagiarizers get through than accuse innocent students. But that's me. And some teachers might be more into the accuse a lot more students and be really confident that you're right. And you know, that's a thing that happens and kind of sucks. This is where we're at. This is all just depressing though. We're heading for this, we're in this boring dystopia where students are pretending to learn and like hitting a button that spits out an essay and they're like, look, I learned things. And they're taking out massive loans and going into all this debt in order to pretend to learn. And that money doesn't even go to the teachers who are barely paid. It's like two bankers are just exchanging large amounts of money while we put on a kabuki theater, like we're pretending to learn things and pretending to teach things and you don't get anything out of it and I barely get paid for it. Like, what the hell are we doing? It feels like we're in an idiocracy, and it makes me think of the 1995 book by Carl Sagan, The Demon Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, something like that. I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the key manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide, almost without noticing, back into superstition and darkness. I noticed, for the record.
I love the poorly educated.
If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true.
And there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark.
To be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along.
For Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
It's a thing that Jefferson laid great stress on. It wasn't enough, he said, to enshrine some rights in a Constitution or a Bill of Rights. The people had to be educated.
I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy.
And they had to practice their skepticism and their education. Otherwise, we don't run the government. The government runs us.
Jefferson was amazing. in his devotion to science.
So there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question.
Basically, we're in idiocracy, and we're heading towards a time when science and technology is basically just magic that works for 98% of the people who have no idea how it works. And if Wi-Fi stops working, we're just like fucked and we don't know how to work anything. All right, some of this is classic, like kids these days. Every generation thinks kids these days are just the worst. My generation, we respected our elders and we paid attention in school and we were very thoughtful, and these kids these days suck. Now you see pictures that show like people on the train, and everyone on the train and the subway, they're all just staring at their phone. There's a photo of people on a subway from like 1911 where they're all just like looking at newspapers and no one's talking to each other. So yeah. There's a story about like monks when the printing press was invented, because before the printing press, their job was literally to sit there and make Bibles. They just sit there copying a Bible. And then when the printing press happened, they were like, oh, we got like free time. And there's this thing about like, these monks are running amok. They don't have anything to do. And they're losing their faith. And they're straying from God because of this damn printing press. I don't know, maybe we'd be better off if we never invented the printing press. He said, while sipping a cocktail that an AI created for him. Ironically, or famously, Sagan then criticizes all the like dumbing down of America, which like TV is dumbing us down, and he cites specifically Beavis and Butthead. So the fact that like the thing Carl Sagan cites as like the dumbing down of America is made by the guy who then makes Idiocracy, you know, really bakes your noodle. You know, really cooks the old head pasta. How many students have I gotten expelled? It's a 0. Does it go on your permanent record? I don't know. Your teacher probably has no idea if you've been in trouble for plagiarism in the past. Let's say you're at a better university and the big ass P word comes up, plagiarism. How much trouble are you in? Well, let's say you're in my class and you did some of this like insufficient citation. Well, you're probably losing points on the like section of rubric about like citing your sources. If you're doing some shit where it was like, okay, this paragraph here seems like you did a little bit of you synonymized, you know, you might get docked 2 letter grades or something like that. If I bust you, it's totally direct plagiarism. You paid for it. It's you copied Wikipedia and I bust you and you lie to me about it. You're like, oh no, I wrote this. And I'm like, you obviously didn't write it. I have the evidence and you're lying to my face about it. Yeah, you're getting a 0 on it and you probably don't get to make it up. If I bust you for a second time that semester, that's when I started thinking about filling out the forms and all that shit. And then what happens? I don't know. I don't think students get expelled for that shit. The worst I can do is fail you from my class. And even that, I very rarely have done. If you fail the class because you got 0s from some plagiarism, you failed, you know. I have never once been in any kind of like tribunal, some meeting, some court case type thing. If you go on Reddit and you look like, oh, I got accused of plagiarism, people are like, lawyer up and do this and go to the dean. And they seem to think that like universities have this like whole judicial system to sort this out. And like, I don't know, maybe. I've never been like, oh, this student plagiarized. They complain up a ladder. I have to like justify to like an administrator. They're like, oh yeah, I caught him and here's my proof. Like this has never happened. So like maybe at like Harvard and Yale and shit like that, if you get busted for plagiarism, maybe they'll kick you out unless your parents are really rich. I saw a Redditor complaining on the ChatGPT subreddit that he was falsely accused of plagiarism. The fact that you get accused of it and then you rush to the ChatGPT subreddit, that seems like a red flag. People who are using the ChatGPT subreddit are probably using ChatGPT. So this kid turned in an essay on a topic, it was Flannery O'Connor's, whatever. The teacher went to ChatGPT, said, write an essay about Flannery O'Connor's whatever. In that essay generated by ChatGPT for them, it had this phrase, the narrative's exploration of the intricate interplay between self-perception and external influences, which sounds a whole lot like your line, I'm quoting the teacher here. This character's journey shows the intricate interplay between self-perception and the personas individuals present to the world. And lots of the comments are like, go to the like board of trustees, like, lawyer up, this is bullshit, your teacher has no evidence, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it was plagiarized because this was word for word exact in both of them. The intricate interplay between self-perception and Trust me, it's very unusual to stumble your way into saying the exact same 7 words in the same order when you're not quoting or trying to paraphrase the same thing. For example, I just Googled unusual to stumble your way into saying, which seems like not that crazy of a phrase to come up with. There are 0 results in Google. Did I just invent something that's never been said before? Like, that's what? The way it's phrased, the intricate interplay between self-perception and something else just seems kind of odd to me and phony academic sounding. This is the thing with the AI detecting software is well, we don't really know how it works, which is I don't really know how my brain works. My brain doesn't really understand itself. He said, while drinking a cocktail in AI created. But I do know that that seems weird. And so this phrase seems weird. So I tried this. I Googled the phrase, intricate interplay between self-perception and. Now in Google, you can put a time period. You can say between these days, you can say before, whatever. Before 2020, there are 0 results. If you limit it to before 2023, there's only 1 result. And it's a coffee shop's Instagram, which, okay. If you go since 2023, since January 1, there's pages and pages of results. Almost oh, AI took off and now it's the same phrase has been used a bunch of times. And so you glance at these results and it's oh, these are clearly obviously ChatGPT, this is bullshit. I found a website, it's this entire website is just somebody went and made all these articles with ChatGPT. What is this for? I don't understand what's happening. It's not clickbait. It's almost like a website you would make for a movie in 40 minutes and just need a fake website for someone to scroll in a movie or something. It's like a lorem ipsum. What are we doing? Anyway, so I took some of these texts that used it that I found in Google, run those into 0GPT, one of these AI detectors, and yeah, it's yep, that's AI. Yep, that's AI. Yep, that's AI. So to check, because maybe it just says everything's AI, right? I took some of my script from this. Oh, look, it says it's human generated. I just have that ineffable quality. An AI can't simulate me, baby. Suck it, Tom Jefferson. So now let's have ChatGPT write like a drunk YouTuber professor ranting about plagiarism while getting drunk. ChatGPT, spit me out some text. Now I'm gonna go plug that into an AI detector. Look at that, it knows immediately that it's AI generated. Okay, so these things work. I don't know that I would trust my life with it because I don't really know how it works. How do we detect them? It's mostly intuition, and then you throw it into an AI detector and maybe it's your smoking gun if you want to call it that. I don't know, and I'm not going to study for years to learn how AI detectors work currently, because guess what? Come back in 2 years, we're going to have a bajillion more AI generators, and we're going to have more. We're in an arms race of detecting and generating. If there's more money in generating than there is in detecting, eventually the generators will win this, I think, right? Unless there's some fundamental factor. Maybe AIs just don't ever be that smart. I don't know. You guys know the dead internet theory where all these comments down here are just bots talking to each other and nothing's real? Basically, that's what college classes are like now. Because we have those discussion board posts. That doesn't work anymore. Did I plagiarize on any essays that I turned in with my name at the top? Yeah, I would be guilty of probably a mosaic or patchwork plagiarism, where I would take a source I found and then just paste that in the document and then just paraphrase and put it into my own words a little bit. And all right, maybe throw a quote in there. It's one of the least lazy forms of plagiarism. And it's kind of the most baffling, because I basically did 95% of writing the paper. You got a good source and you put a lot of it into your own words, and then you have your quotes. So it's what are you doing? I think it just comes down to a psychological thing of sitting in a blank document feels shitty, and you're what if I could paste in a bunch of shit? Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm just paraphrase that. Oh, how do I rework that? Okay, rework that. That just feels easier. When I was in high school, we had a standardized statewide essay test thing. And it's scored 1 to 5, right? And it's school funding's based on it. So we were taking it very seriously. And my school got this AI, I don't know if they call it an AI, but they got a program that would grade the essays for you. So you just plug in your essay and it'll spit out a number. And I was I'm a pretty experienced computer programmer because I've been learning QBasic. So I'm very dubious. I don't believe this shit. And I told my teacher, I don't believe this shit. Type our essay, plug it in. It gave me a 4. This is dumb. So I hit copy paste. Made it twice as long instantly, run it again, and this time I got a 5. thus proving this thing sucks balls. Mrs. What's her name? I don't remember. Stupid, look how dumb it is. And she got mad at me. I was like, what the like, how much money did you guys spend on this thing? All it's checking is like, is it up to the word count? Like, fucking AI, whatever. Okay. But now we're just awash in AI papers. And if we can't come to grips with this, what are we gonna do? Like, are we gonna evolve somehow, find new ways of testing your knowledge? And we've got to adapt. We got to change. Education's been disrupted by tech. We got to adapt to the changing marketplace of ideas. Fuck that shit. You know what we're gonna do? Handwriting. You're gonna write your essays by hand in front of me. That's what's gonna happen. When I was in grad school, I would proctor and then grade. We had this standardized test every kid had to take before they could take certain like upper level classes, where they had to write an essay by hand in a giant room. There's 250 kids. Write it in a blue book. Ask your grandpa what that is. Here's 8 articles about gun control. Those are your sources on paper. Go and write your citations by paper. I would proctor that and grade those. You know, all the grad students would be in a room being paid minimum wage plus pizza. We had a whiteboard and we'd write all the dumbest things we saw in there. For example, I still remember this sentence: STDs, AIDS, and teen pregnancy will run rampant as long as there are sex festivals going on. This was a paper about gun control. Also, I remember the phrase sex condoms was used at one point, which I thought tickled me, sex condoms, you know? And so I made that the like Wi-Fi name. And then my future father-in-law, my wife's dad, right? He comes over at some point and is like, is the Wi-Fi called sex condoms?
Nobody's ever asked me that question.
It's like, who the fuck is my daughter dating? I was like, it's a funny phrase, sex condoms. Anyway, I'm dating your 22-year-old daughter. That's fun. I'm just, you know, I'm a playful guy, you know, I'm a goofy dude, not a creepy sex, okay, I might be a creepy sex pervert, but I'm also a goofy guy, so it's okay. The other day, I told my wife, the librarian, that she's not very playful, and she said, well, define playful. Pepper's chasing a fly right now. Anyway, I think the point of this is the plagiarizers are winning, which again, hope you don't get hand cramps. I'm going to be keeping those fingers busy and also making write papers by hand. You know what I'm saying? Am I afraid of getting fired if I admit that when I was an undergrad, I plagiarized? No, I am not. You know why? The only way that would happen is if this video like blows up and goes viral as shit. That's the only way anyone will notice. In which case, you can't fire me. I quit because I'm a viral bitch. And I'm announcing it right now. I am quitting. I'm quitting teaching to become a professional musician. To write jingles, tunes, melodies, themes, bridge, chorus, all that kind of shit. I'm now an audiovisual artist. This is my audiovisual world premiere as a musical artist. Musician. How's my musicianship? So I can do this.
Dogs in this house. Dogs in this house. There's some dogs in this house.
This wet anal region calls for a bucket and mop.
There's some dogs in this house. There's some
Murder evacuees in this dwelling. It's so hard. It's like there's no way to match these up. There are a few prostitutes in this residence.
Yeah.
I have found some prostitutes staying in this house. Also, that drop out. I don't know.
Drops out. That's when you go right in this little garage.
I don't know when that dropout is coming though.
Yeah.
Park that big Mack truck right in this little garage.
I declared myself as a certified freak for an extended period, 7 days per week.
dogs in this house. There's some dogs in this house.
What a weak pull-out game, poor ass.
Dogs in this house.
Then again, yes, yeah. You are squirting with your wet buttocks.
Make it work.
Just bring a bucket mop for this wet pussy.
It's a little hard to be moved.
Give me all the help you can give for this ruffled buttocks.
No.
That one.
I know which one that one was.
Spit in my mouth and look at me for what I am doing. The pussy is drenched. So come on it. Yeah, I need a hype man.
Yeah.
And I don't clean my dishes.
She has a wet pussy face, so grab your boots and coat. A phone was acquired by him just to take pictures of his droopy pussy. Haktua, must you pay for my tuition to kiss me on my wet buttocks? Best thing about anal drainage is that it should be raining if you want to see some wet pussy.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, in order to hit a hard ball and secure it with deep strokes, I must play golf. If I want a Hennick drink or THC, I need a smoker. A cobra named King Cobra is what I'm after, not a garden snake.
Yeah, you little bitch.
She knows my penis is small.
Spaghetti doesn't interest me, and I intend to swallow. The urge to gag and choke is on my mind. You couldn't put any rhymes in here.
I didn't write it. AI wrote it.
It's also hard to spit these bars.
Yeah.
Because they were so poorly written by a robot.
It's not so hard to spit these bars if you just go like this.
Yeah. Just like his credit card collection, Pussy A1 is a true professional.
It sounds like a
Nice. Since he's got a mustache, I plan to try and wet it properly. I permitted him to taste it, but now he has diabetes. The urge to gag and choke is on my mind. People are gonna love this. Amazing.
Oh god. Okay, yeah.
Patreon.
We gotta kill that
subscribe.
boner. Kill the boner.
Kill this boner.
Kill that boner.
Where were you?
Kill that boner with
The urge to gag and choke is on my mind.
Yes, you didn't say that.
Where were you? What was that?
There's some dogs in this house. There's some dogs in this house. There's some dogs.
Driving your nose in a manner that is comparable to that of a credit card swipe. Make me scream with your cream. Create a scene while being outdoors in a public environment.
Right in that little garage.
Although I tell him where he can put it, he never knows with whom to do it. Knowing that I have been run over by a neighbor woman, I am now running down on him.
Yeah.